What's the most outrageous thing I did during a sleepover? Please be advised, the following stories contain descriptions of mistreatment and physical harm. Video discretion is advised. Story 1. I was in the bathroom. I could overhear whispers, so I knew they were going to play a prank on me. I thought the prank would be that they would unexpectedly break in through the door. So to counter them, I decided to hold the door shut by pushing against it with both palms, adding my weight to the door. However, that was not their intended prank. They thought I was in the toilet, far from the door, so the idea was to have a sword thrusted unexpectedly through the door. The sword went through the door and straight through my right hand. Blood went everywhere. The sword went in and out quickly, and I have a vague memory of turning on the sink and wrapping my hand with towels while blood squirted all over. I don't remember getting in the car, but apparently I was driven to the emergency room. It's been more than 20 years now. The rest of my hand is fine, but I have a small scar where I no longer have any sensation. Usually, when I mention the story, I just say that I was stabbed with a sword when I was a teenager, without going into detail on how or why, which is significantly more stupid. The same person who did this prank on me decided to prank someone else by holding a knife right above a sleeping person's eye, so that when they woke up, the first thing they would see is a knife blade up close. Thankfully, that incident resulted in only a scream. Looking back, I suspected he may not have been a healthy friend to be around. Story 2. I bathed my friend. Two of us stayed at our friend's house in our early teens. We raided our parents' liquor cabinet not knowing how alcohol works. We drank every kind of liquor under the sun, very quickly. Over the course of a few hours, we mixed shots with popsicles and ate animal crackers to get a taste of gin out of our mouths. One of the three of us stood atop a small staircase into the living room, maybe 4 steps. He swayed, grabbed onto the railing, turned pale, and then vomited so violently that it all landed and splashed at the bottom of the staircase. He then immediately fell down the stairs and began to laugh in the pool of his own vomit. We picked him up, dragged him into the bathroom, stripped all of his clothes, and shoved him in the shower. He had thick, curly hair that was filled with bright red popsicle-colored animal cracker paste. I told him to put out his hands, as he kept yelling to not tell anyone he had a small dick. Once he finally complied, I poured shampoo in his hands and told him to clean his hair. He slapped it all over his face, causing him to cough plus burn his eyes. At this point, I had to get him cleaned up, so I did. We had no spare clothing for him, so we gave him our friend's brother's clothes. He was quite obese. We had to get him a belt and tightly tie what I can only describe as parachute shorts around his waist. We went to sleep afterwards and convinced ourselves no one in the house heard us. If this story is believed to be untrue, the reason I remember it so well is because that friend shouting about his small dick was bigger than me, and you never forget finding out your dick is small. Story 3. I played with matches. For years, I thought I burned my aunt and uncle's house down. I was staying with them. My cousin and I were lighting matches in the kitchen and throwing them down the sink. The head of one flew off and landed in the shelving unit by the sink, still smoking. But when we looked for it, we couldn't find it. It was the 80s, so all those "kids don't play with matches" advertisements were everywhere. Hours later, we were awakened by my aunt, telling us to get out of the house because it was on fire. I watched our house burn to the ground, and I was terrified to tell them what we'd been doing earlier. I just knew we'd done it. I carried the guilt for years. When I was around 15, which was many years later, I finally told my aunt. She started laughing, and after realizing I'd been thinking this the whole time, she hugged me and explained it had been bad wiring in the back of the bedroom. When I was an adult, I finally understood, after learning about how fire marshals investigate fires, and that it wasn't just an assumption. Then I could finally let go of the guilt. So, I guess technically, the most screwed up thing I did over a sleepover was traumatizing myself for years. Story 4. My friend and I were 11 or 12. His sister was 14. She announced that she'd never seen a dick in person before, and wanted to. Basically, it was show me yours and I'll show you mine thing. Except, it was directed at me and my friend. Which makes sense, I guess. If she'd never seen one before, why not try and look at 2 at once? Ground rules were set. You can look as long as you want, or as close as you want, but no touching. I had never seen that particular female body part in person before, so I was curious to take a look. My friend was apparently curious enough to scope out his own sister's secret part, so we all showed each other our junk. After it was over, we never did that again. We never spoke of it again, or anything else. Story 5. I clogged the toilet at a friend's house in the middle of the night. It started to overflow, and there was no plunger. I woke up my friend, who then woke up his parents. It turned out that the water had overflowed and had soaked through the floor, and it was dripping into the kitchen. His mom started trying to collect the dripping water downstairs, while his dad was on clog duty. I never saw a plunger that night, but I did see was my friend's dad elbow deep in fecal water, pulling out a wad of feces and toilet paper. The floor was covered with more fecal water by this time. Later on, his sister woke up and came to investigate. I haven't talked to them in over 20 years. Story 7. I raided my friend's dad's Playboy Max. Then my friend showed me a porn video, and I couldn't figure out why the girl was drinking a guy's pee. Full disclosure, I was like 9 or 10, and this was the early 80s. Story 8. In Boy Scouts, I was the morning cook, meaning I woke up before anyone else to chop wood, make a fire, and get water boiling. I grabbed the hatchet and started splitting a log into little splinters for kindling. It was cold and dewy. The hatchet slipped from my hand mid-upward swing and went flying to the tent circle. It seriously flew 10 to 15 yards and fell straight down through the roof of the tent, where 4 scouts were sound asleep. I'm not sure how long I waited to hear someone start screaming. I probably sat there in terrified anticipation for over a minute. Then I was worried someone might be hurt, so I curled over to that tent where the hatchet landed. I super quietly unzipped the flap and said it had landed in a bag of clothes very close to some kid's head. I snuck in, grabbed the hatchet, left the tent, zipped it back up, and finished breakfast. I heard them at breakfast complaining that the raccoons had ruined a perfectly nice tent by clawing a hole in it. Story 9. I was away with a friend's family, and I was on the phone. Pretendingly, I told the other guys that I met this hot girl at the pool, and that we were going to sneak out and meet up that night. I also went on to complain about the family who paid for my trip. They heard everything. I cringe to this day when I think about it. I feel secondhand embarrassment about myself. To be fair, they turned out to be not very nice people, but they were obviously nice to me. Story 10. I don't remember what we were looking for, but me and my other friend went through our buddy's parents' bedroom drawers and found a VHS tape. We were curious and idiotic, so we popped the tape in to see what was on it. Our buddy walked in while we were watching his parents have sex. His scream was the most shocking/horrifying thing I have heard to this day. Story 11. I peed on my friend's couch during a sleepover. I was 10. I woke up in a panic, of course, but discovered the couch cushions were sewed to the couch, and they were identical on both sides. So I flipped that shit, changed into a spare pair of shorts, and went to sleep. A year later, while I was at my friend's house, his mom discovered my huge yellow piss stain on the bottom of the couch cushion. Of course, she didn't suspect me. My friend's little sister, though, took the heat. Story 12. I got a bloody nose. It was dark, and I didn't know the house, so I stuck near the walls and went down the hallway, and found a bathroom. Got the bleeding to stop, cleaned up, went back to sleep. In the morning, the mom came in frantic, making sure everyone was alive, after she saw all the smeared, bloody handprints all over down the hallway. Thank you for listening to these outrageous sleepover stories. Have you ever done something crazy or unexpected during a sleepover? Share your own stories in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more entertaining content.